This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on Facebook. Nutrition World in downtown Port Pierce across from City Hall now presents Joanne's World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Oh, that's so funny, Cliff. It's like you have a different persona every time you announce me over the years.
Multiple personalities.
Multiple personalities. I love it. I never know what to expect every Thursday morning. Well, this Thursday morning is going to be amazing. I hope everyone has their pens and paper out. Remember, Cliff is always gracious enough to put it on YouTube after the show in case you miss any part of this. But our guest today, I really think you're going to be hanging on every word. And so without further ado, we're going to get her right on. So Tina Anderson from Just Thrive Health, good morning.
Good morning, Joanne. How are you?
I am great. How are you doing this morning?
I am great. Having a great day. Great Thursday.
That's awesome. Oh, I love your energy. It's so good. So usually my listeners and I do a quick breathing exercise, but I really want every minute to be utilized with this conversation. So hopefully all my listeners and my newbies are relaxing this morning, thinking positive, and just doing some nice deep breathing while they listen to all this great info we're going to share, okay? All right, so Tina, you have a very interesting backstory, and honestly, most guests, I usually don't spend too much time on their backstory. We like to get into the nitty-gritty on the show, but your backstory is very different from most of my guests. So can you please tell all my listeners about your journey to get to Just Thrive Health?
You bet. Yeah. You're right. I do have kind of an interesting journey. I started out as an attorney. So, I'm still an attorney, technically. I'm still a licensed attorney, but I was doing litigation for many years, and just for a desire to spend more time with my kids. I have 3 children, and I just wanted to be home with them a little bit more. And so I decided to go into a family pharmaceutical business, which was great because I thought, oh, this is wonderful. I'm going to be I'm going to be spending more time with my kids, and I'm going to be doing something in the health field. I'm going to be helping people. But after being in the pharmaceutical industry for several years, I realized that there was just a lot of abuses in the industry. We saw a lot of overprescribing of medications. We have one story that we always talk about where a pharmaceutical rep came into our office and said, oh my God, this is great. We won this bid. It was for a bid for one of the largest hospital systems in the country. And he said, now my job is to go to every doctor in this hospital system and lower the number that they prescribe this particular drug to their patients. And I'm like, what? And then, I was shocked, and my husband and I were shocked. But then another part of us was like, well, we see this with our own family members. We have one family member who was on one pharmaceutical, and the next thing you know, she was on 12 different pharmaceuticals and never getting better. One pharmaceutical she was on for maybe stomach issues that then turned into joint issues, which then caused skin issues. And the next thing you know, she was on a dozen medications and really not getting any better. So we decided that we were going to shift focus and really focus on natural health and wellness, because my husband and I are very deep thinkers. We read a lot of Norman Vincent Peale and Wayne Dyer, and we also do a lot of deep breathing on a daily basis. So, and we just decided that we wanted to get into a field that was more consistent and more in line with the way we lived our own lives with our own kids. We were always very natural minded. It was the way, if my kids had a fever, we let them have the fever run its course for a while. And we didn't rush to go to antibiotics. We avoided them like the plague. And we were like, we are not doing really our life's work and consistent with who we are. I do feel that there is, of course, a place for pharmaceuticals in emergency type situations and maybe acute type situations. But we just feel that we wanted to spend our career doing something that was more focused on prevention and maintenance of health rather than treatment of health. And so from there, it was amazing. Through one of my husband's close friends and business colleagues, we were able to license these very, very incredible exclusive strains from London University, these spore-based probiotic strains. And from there, Just Thrive was born. And it's been the most gratifying career journey I've ever been on.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that is such a great story. I mean, honestly, when I heard your story, I was just like, wow, I love when people have seen both worlds, because then one, it legitimizes sometimes who you are, unfortunately, because some people think of like us as just these hippies that think, outside the box, against the norm. And I always find that baffling. Like, no, we're the ones trying to go with the norm. So it's awesome, your story. And I love the name of the company you founded. I mean, Just Thrive. It's kind of, when I first brought in your products, I got that little postcard, and I keep it right by my terminal that I'm always on. And, it's like the name, Just Thrive. And we really have to remember that to be our best versions of ourselves. And you definitely, your persona, I've listened to some of your talks, and you definitely walk the talk. So it's awesome.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. And I think it's funny that you mentioned that about that we're the hippies. I know I live in the Chicago area, and there's not a big, huge emphasis necessarily on natural health as much as maybe in other areas of the country. And my friends always refer to me as that, oh, Tina, she's the weird one, and then what's so funny, but now during the time that we're living in, all of a sudden everyone's like, what should I be taking, Tina? What should I be doing? And,
right.
And the silver lining in all of this mess that we're going through is that so many people are turning towards how do I make my immune system strong? How do I take care of my immune system? What can I do naturally? Because there aren't pharmaceuticals that are going to be helping you maintain your immune system. And there's so many people are now going to the natural health and wellness world, and I'm tickled pink over that.
Yeah, me too. And one thing too is that a lot of my listeners might be listening and kind of caught the couple buzzwords of probiotic and might think, oh, this might not be the show for me, because some people are still under the impression, well, if I don't take an antibiotic, then I have no need for probiotics. Or if I'm going to the bathroom each day, oh, I'm okay. And unfortunately, they don't realize that the microdome, the gut, how it impacts everything, even, anxiety, depression, and all this other junk that unfortunately right now people are experiencing. So I know the gut lingo. So why don't we first start telling the listeners, what is your take on what the gut actually is, and, how all these problems are coming about?
Yeah. So the gut is comprised of all of these trillions of microorganisms on and about us. The majority of them are in our gut. And, this is bacteria, fungi, viruses, all of these microbes are they're part of us. In fact, we are 10 times more bacterial cells than we are human cells. That's really important for people to understand, is that our gut is, our whole body, our whole health is dictated by the health of our microbiome. So it's really, really important that we focus on our gut. Like you mentioned, when it comes to mental health, people, of course, think of a probiotic. Oh, I'm going to take a probiotic if I have gastrointestinal issues. And of course, you have gas, diarrhea, bloating, things like that, constipation. Of course, you're going to look at a probiotic for that type of, issue. But what people are not realizing is that it also is affecting, skin health. People have a skin rash. That's definitely a sign of an imbalance in your gut microbiome. And like you mentioned, mental health issues like anxiety, depression, all of those types of things are all related to an imbalance in your gut. Any autoimmune issue that somebody would have is directly related to a leakiness of the gut, and that's caused by an imbalance of the gut. So it's really hard to find any health condition, from heart disease to cancer, diabetes, any health condition that is not related to an imbalance in your gut microbiome. And so it is so, so critically important that we focus on gut. And before we focus on anything else in our health, we need to be focusing on our gut.
Definitely. And I have had other guests come on and they do explain, like I had an oncologist come on just recently saying that 70 to 80% of our immune system starts in the gut. And, that's his specialty. So that's big numbers. And then I have, other specialists come on and say that leaky gut syndrome, which I think we should define a little bit more too, that's affecting everyone and sometimes without symptomology.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely gut health is for everyone listening and their family members and their children and their grandparents. We all need to pay attention.
Yes. And so I'm so glad you brought up the most important aspect was the 78 to 80% of our immune system is found in our gut lining. And so, during this time, especially, this is a time for us to be building our resilience. There's no known treatment for what's going on with us right now. There's nothing that's been shown to treat or prevent this virus that's going all around.
It's like we're afraid to say the name, aren't we? It's like, oh yeah.
It's like I don't even want to say it.
It's like I don't want to be flagged. Yeah.
I know. I mean, there's nothing natural or pharmaceutical really that has been totally shown to be a treatment. And so, what we do know is that we have to count on our own immune system to protect us from this because there is no drug or treatment. And so our immune system really has to be functioning optimally. So all the things we do to be healthy are really important. And the gut plays a really important role in the immune system because like you said, about 80% of the immune tissue is in the gut. So, if we start following the recent studies about how the immune system battles this particular virus, you start to realize that it's the proliferation of cells called the T cells and B cells. Those are required to detect and start to fight the virus. So most of that proliferation occurs in the tissues that are found in the gut, in the small intestine. And that's why it's so critical to be taking care of our gut. So the key to a healthier microbiome, because it's your microbiome that stimulates, those tissues, is to improve that proliferation of the immune cells. So it's really important to keep in mind that our immune system is our only defense against this virus right now. And 80% of our immune system is in our gut. And if I could just leave the audience with that, just to remember that we've got to be supporting our gut health. And unfortunately, the world we live in is not supportive of our gut health. So
Tina, what is your take on what a good gut health might look like? Some people might be saying, well, I think my gut's fine. I mean, I don't get colds. I'm under the proper weight. Like, what would your view of a good gut health look like?
Yeah, for sure it would be diversity of your bacteria. So we need a lot of diverse bacteria. And that's actually a myth that maybe we could get into later. But the truth, and I think every type of expert out there, gut health expert, would say that diversity is the key. If you have a diverse microbiome, lots of different types of bacteria in all shapes, forms, and sizes, you have a healthy gut, and therefore you have health. So The key is to have a diverse microbiome. And we don't want, we want a balanced microbiome. We don't want an overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria. We don't want an overgrowth of yeast and those types of things. So a balanced and diverse microbiome is key.
Definitely. And I give like this little quiz out almost daily about leaky gut syndrome because I find that a lot of people, don't understand that our intestines, they are vulnerable and sometimes they let bad stuff out into the bloodstream, and it causes such severe distress to our body. So I know that's actually the reason I brought your product in because of how you used a well-studied spore bacteria that was definitely connected to leaky gut syndrome in the positive way in healing. So can you, I'm so nervous about running out of time this morning. So can you let us know, how did you come across that bacteria and why did you choose to go in that direction versus these companies that are putting out, billions and billions and all these different strains? What led you to that one?
Yes. The biggest thing that led us to it is the research. And so we really wanted to elevate the standard of supplements in this world. We believe in them. Unfortunately, we all know that there are some out there that are not necessarily doing what they say they're going to do. And And obviously, thank God for people like you who take the time to research the probiotics before you bring them into this, or this products before you bring them into the store. And so we knew that these strains were making an actual shift in the microbiome. So we knew it's a totally different science, and it's a completely different category of probiotics, the spore base, versus anything else that's out on the market. So when we first got these strains, we actually did a leaky gut study, which is incredible. We are the only probiotic out in the market that we know of, and only pharmaceutical out there that has a double-blind human clinical trial showing that these strains are reducing the LPS toxins in the gut. So just to back up, like you had said, what is leaky gut? Leaky gut is basically the LPS toxins, lipopolysaccharide toxins, that are leaking into your bloodstream. When lipopolysaccharides are released in the body, in the gut, they're really not that problematic. It's when they seep into your bloodstream that they really cause this massive inflammatory response and are really at the root of all disease out there. So leaky gut is, people ask all the time, like you said, how do I know if I have a leaky gut? It's safe to assume that you have a leaky gut. We did the study that was done, University of North Texas did this study on leaky gut. They took 100 college students. 55% of them had a leaky gut and didn't know it. These are students that had no issues, no health problems. They're young, they're vibrant, healthy. They're not, no pharmaceuticals, no medication, nothing like that. And 55% of them had a leaky gut. And we know now when you have a leaky gut, like I said, that means those LPS toxins are seeping from your gut into your bloodstream. Food particles are leaking from your gut into your bloodstream. Kale is very healthy, and lots of these green vegetables are healthy. They do not belong in our bloodstream. And so this causes this inflammatory response in our gut. in our bloodstream and by our immune system. So it's really important that we address the leakiness of the gut. And it's like I said, it's safe to assume if you are an adult, you probably have some form of leaky gut. We live in such a like I said, antimicrobial world. We are more microbes than we are human, and yet we live in this antimicrobial world. We are faced with glyphosate. We're faced with antibiotics that we take, antibiotics in our food, stress, sugar, alcohol. All these things are just really wreaking havoc on our gut lining on a regular basis and causing, household products, all the ones that are, all this hand sanitizer that we're using right now. I've never been a fan of hand sanitizer just because it is literally wreaking havoc on it's destroying our own microbes in our body. And I will admit, and when this all first came out, I did start using it, for the first time in a long time, but now I'm done. I'm like, no, soap and water is what we need to be doing, because I just feel like those microbes are being killed, and it is our microbes, it's our bacteria that is making us healthy and keeping us, thriving.
And Tina, I also want to add, you named all the definite causes, and some people too don't understand that even in our flour products, the chlorine, the bromides, the glycosides, that sometimes they're like, oh, well, I'll just be safe with these gluten-free muffins or waffles or cereals, especially for our young children, or the Cheerios for the babies. And they do have the chlorine and the bromides and the glycosides that are also a huge cause for leaky gut syndrome. So, we're pretty much, it's really tough, especially when you're trying to, I know you love children and, thank God, right? But you definitely talk about their health as well. And I think parents are really under severe challenges trying to get the gut health back for their kids too. And I love that your product is definitely safe for children as well. So we got to get these kids' health back as well. It's like,
yes. Yeah. I think one of the biggest ways to explain the difference between the spore-forming bacteria that's in Just Thrive versus other types of probiotics that are on the market is that if you envision a garden, and the garden has been stepped on and trampled on, there's weeds growing all over the garden. The old approach to probiotics has been to throw seeds in the garden and plant a few other plants in the garden. Ours is not at all. The problem with that is most of those probiotics have difficulty even getting into that garden. They have difficulty surviving the gastric system. With the spores, they have this hardy shell around them. So you throw them in that garden, they attach to the soil in the garden. So if you analogize that to your gut, they're attaching to the intestinal cell wall. And then they actually have the ability to get rid of those weeds in the garden. So they're actually getting rid of the pathogenic bacteria in your gut. And then the really cool part is they're going and taking those plants that have been stepped on and trampled on and bringing them back to life. So they're taking all these bacteria that already belong to you and helping bringing them back to life. So it is such an effective approach to having this robust and lush garden, or this robust and lush, garden in your gut that is, balanced and healthy and beautiful. And that's it. So we're not reseeding the gut. We're not putting a new plant or a new pretty plant in the garden. We're taking our own bacteria and bringing it back to life. And this is how you really create diversity, a diverse and healthy microbiome.
Definitely. And I love it because that's just thriving in the gut. Perfect. And the one thing, too, I know we both are very passionate about is striving that the food products that promote good bacteria in their packaging, like yogurt and the sweetened kefirs and some other product, isn't necessarily the answer, and sometimes can be to the detriment of the gut. And some people the marketing is so good and the backstory is so good that it is really misleading a lot of people that thinking, just eat this yogurt a day and your gut health will improve. Can you touch on that, why that's not necessarily true?
Yes. So in order for a probiotic strain to actually have any effect on the gut, it needs to arrive in the gut alive. And so that is a really important point, is that most people are thinking, this yogurt has, live bacteria in it. So I'm going to be taking this, I'm going to take yogurt because it's good for my gut. The problem is that those strains may be alive in the yogurt when it's in the refrigerator, but it's not going to ever survive your body temperature, which is 98.6. It's not going to survive the gastric system, which is very acidic. And, the stomach acid is made to be very acidic. So it will arrive dead on arrival in the intestines. And in order to be a probiotic strain, it needs to actually arrive alive in the intestines. So really, really important that you have a probiotic that survives the digestive process and gets to the intestines alive. And the problem with yogurt is that it has sugar in it. A lot of yogurts have a lot of sugar in it, and that is the absolute opposite of what we need to do with your gut. We don't want sugar in our gut. That is
definitely. It's so addicting, but it's so true, So when we come back in just a few seconds, we will go into more with Tina Anderson from Just Thrive Health. And if you want to check out their website on the break, it's justthrivehealth.com. So we will be right back, Tina. Hang on.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis.
Minute-and-a-half break.
Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World. Just letting all of my listeners know we have been diligent in sanitizing the store and using every precaution possible to keep our customers safe. I am offering free shipping on all orders over $30 if you choose not to come in the store. I am really hoping that all my listeners are taking time right now to get fresh air, to get exercise into their daily routine, keep hydrated, and get the proper amount of sleep. It's critical right now that attitude is everything. To please take time to laugh, to give yourself a break. You can find Nutrition World right on US 1 in Fort Pierce, across from Fort Pierce City Hall, in between Orange Avenue and Avenue A. Our phone number is 772-464-3598. Call me with any questions or concerns. All my best, Joanne.
Joanne's Nutrition World, now open from 11 to 3, Monday through Saturday. Call 464-3598.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return to Joanne's World of Nutrition with Joanne Seeger.
Hey everyone, thank you for spending some time with me and my guest this morning. We have Tina Anderson on the line. She is the founder of Just Thrive Health. They make amazing products. I have 3 of my favorite at the store right now, and so we're talking about Spore Probiotic, and she is definitely helping us understand about gut bacteria, immunity, leaky gut syndrome. So again, if you missed any part of the show, give it a day and we can get that on YouTube for you. So Tina, all right, we got a lot of information. Some people's heads might be spinning. So we have, so now we touched on how sometimes, if not all the time, food sometimes not only can't be the answer, but especially if you've gotten into the situation where you have a leaky gut or a gut health issue. And so then you need to heal your gut. And it was so impressive how quickly your product did help heal the gut. So can you talk about the Just Thrive probiotic, the Spore probiotic, and how it does help heal the gut?
Yes, and just for FDA purposes, I have to be careful saying
yes,
we're not
sorry.
the gut. I'm sorry. I just go so sensitive to that heal world. But yes, you are right. So basically, we know that the leakiness of the gut is, we've got the LPS toxins, like I mentioned, and like food particles that leak into the gut. What these strains do, the spore-based probiotics do, is they actually go in and help tighten the tight junctions. So they're putting together those tight junctions back. So it's when those tight junctions in your intestinal lining start coming apart that you have this leakiness of the gut. We knew that these strains actually produced proteins that actually help seal up those tight junctions. And so that's why we did the leaky gut study too. We hypothesized that, okay, these strains actually produce these proteins to seal up the tight junctions, we're probably stopping that LPS toxin from going into the bloodstream. And sure enough, after the study, like I said, we took 100 college students, 55% of them had leakiness of the gut. We took half of those and gave them the spore-based probiotics. We gave the other half placebo. We sent them both home with the product, or with either the placebo or the product, and gave them no other dietary or lifestyle modifications. So they didn't need to change their diet, their lifestyle. We all know what college students do to their bodies while they're in college.
Or adults.
Yeah, right. And so after 30 days, they came back and we gave them the same challenge meal, which was fast food breakfast. And it's not we, but University of North Texas did this. And they found that the treated group saw a 42% reduction in LPS toxins. This is just after 30 days, showed a 42% reduction in LPS toxins seeping into the bloodstream. Now, here's the scary part. The placebo group saw a 32% increase, so over what they had experienced the first time they had a challenge meal. So what that's telling us is that it's like this slow drip. When we start having the more leakiness, it just keeps continuing to get leaky, especially when you're eating challenge meals and that type of thing that are wreaking havoc on the gut anyway.
I've never heard that expression challenge meal before, but I love it because some people eat challenged meals all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the scary part about it is that, so many people see that. We also, this study also showed a 24% reduction in triglycerides. Like all of these things that we weren't expecting, we saw. We also saw a dramatic reduction in circulating ghrelin. So that's the hunger hormone, which is crazy. So what that's telling us, which we already kind of knew, is that there's this huge communication between the gut and the brain, and the spores are actually increasing that communication between the gut and the brain. But, who wouldn't like a reduction in ghrelin, the hunger hormone? So we also saw better insulin response, including significant reductions in A1C, postprandial insulin, and fasting glucose levels. So we saw some really exciting results that we weren't even expecting. We were just really focusing on what the LPS toxins were doing in the bloodstream. So it was really exciting.
Tina, those are amazing stats. Absolutely amazing. I hope all my listeners really heard those big words, because they are part of all our health. And when we go to the doctor's office and we're getting these high cholesterol numbers and thinking that, just take a statin, that will fix it, or all these other issues with A1C and diabetes and circulatory issues, just your gut health, repairing that can affect all those things, incredible numbers, Tina. That's especially about the triglycerides. So many people don't connect gut health to that issue. And again, that's, if it's almost 80% of your immune system or more, then it's affecting everything in the human body.
Exactly.
Everything.
I mean, the leakiness in the gut creates low-grade inflammation and becomes the foundation for the vast majority of illnesses out there. And that's what, people are just starting to realize, thanks to shows like yours and for, what you do in the store all the time, every day. But, we have to, like I said in the beginning, it's hard to find any disease that is not related to an imbalance of your gut. Yep. Whether it's heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia. In fact, Alzheimer's, a study came out about 1.5 years ago showing that the number one driver of Alzheimer's is heightened LPS levels in the bloodstream. And so we've got to be focusing on those LPS levels in the bloodstream. It's really the driver of most chronic conditions.
Definitely. And, when you say like Alzheimer's, and that's scary. I mean, people are really scared of that one, and as they should be. So that's great news that not only are we mentioning some serious things here, but also solutions. So your probiotic, it's pretty simple, straightforward. A capsule that you take with food. Some people might think, maybe is this too simple, but it is as simple as that, right? Just a couple a day?
It's really simple. One a day, just one a day.
Okay, food. Even simpler.
It's so easy. And for the moms out there, because like you said, I'm very passionate about kids. I feel like kids are really, when we were kids and when I was a kid, I knew one kid that had a peanut allergy through, K through 12. I mean, I didn't know it. Now we have peanut-free tables. Now allergies are so rampant with kids. And it's because of this antimicrobial world we're living in. And so our kids' guts need to be taken care of so much, even more than our adult guts, I sometimes feel, because these kids are being raised, they're born in such a, unfriendly environment for our gut health. And so with our product, you could actually open the capsules and mix it with food or drink. You could start out with a half a capsule and then go to a full capsule. A child's microbiome is actually fully developed by about the age of 2.5. So a full capsule is perfectly fine for a 2.5-year-old. But even before that, you could do a half a capsule or a quarter of a capsule. But these are strains that our ancestors got from the environment. So it's not like you're giving them something these are the same strains our ancestors would get when they ate off of the land from roots and tubers. They were meant to be taken on a daily basis. So, and like you said, it's just so easy. One capsule a day, ground zero for health. It's where I say you start with health. I mean, there are so many important nutrients out there, but I feel like so passionately that you start with your gut health, because when your gut is not healthy, it's not absorbing other nutrients. So, we're eating all this great food, but if you have an inflamed gut, you're not absorbing nutrients. Whether you take all of the supplements that you want or you're eating really healthy, we need to make sure we're taking care of our gut health first and foremost.
Definitely. Now, when people go into health food stores and look for Just Thrive, they might notice that you're just sitting there on the shelf, all innocent with all the other bottles that they may have. So they're going to ask why, why not in the fridge?
Yep. So that's one of my favorite myths that I love to talk about. So if a probiotic needs to be refrigerated, it's because it can't withstand the room temperature of the store shelf. They have lied, presuming that they make the whole transportation journey from the manufacturer in a refrigerated truck to, a refrigerated store. Just let's presume that they do. That means these strains are so sensitive that they can't withstand the room temperature of the store shelf to stay alive. So how in the world would they ever survive your body temperature, which is 98.6, much less the acidic environment in the gut? And the answer is many of them don't, and a lot of companies will, enterocoat them and do different things to try to make them survive that journey. But the problem is, even if they get into the intestines and they take off their, enterocoating, they are met with bile salts in the intestines. So we feel that that is one of the biggest myths out there, is that in order to be a good probiotic, it needs to be refrigerated. In fact, to us, it's a sign of a weak probiotic, because if it can't withstand the room temperature of the store shelf, how in the world would it ever survive your body temperature, which is 98.6? And the difference with the spores and Just Thrive is that the spores, when they're in spore form, so they are actually dormant. So if you're taking the capsule out of the bottle, they're dormant. They're actually not live microorganisms at that time. The important thing is that they're dormant. When you swallow them, they're dormant. When they get to the gastric system and it's so harsh, they're dormant. So they have this hard, hardy shell around themselves. It's not till they hit the intestines that they take their shell off and they go into their live vegetative cell state. So it's really important that your probiotic needs to be alive in your intestines, not in the refrigerator. It's not important. It's fine if it's live in the refrigerator, but it really needs to stay alive until it hits the intestines. And there are numerous studies out there that show the majority of probiotics are dead on arrival before they ever get to the intestines. We have ours tested by a third-party lab, showing that ours arrives 100% alive by the time it gets to the intestines.
Okay, and I want to make it really clear to our listeners that when Tina mentions, the hard shell, she doesn't mean the capsule. She means the spore shell itself. Correct, Tina?
Yes, thank you for making that.
Yeah, because a lot of people are used to, when they see something on the shelf, that it's the actual capsule or the bottle it's in. That's the special part. Where yours, it's the spore itself that's staying with the hard shell until the intestines, correct?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like, we talk about spores and bacteria and immunology, and for them, it's a little bit Latin, right? So, all right. So we definitely want to encourage, for children, for all humans, we definitely need this probiotic. And we want to also, Tina, like, I love how you talk about, I was brought up when I went to school in Boston, like, oh my God, 33 years ago, it was a Japanese household I lived in. So we did, natto and tempeh and, a lot of fermented foods. And I understand your take on them is they definitely have a healthy place, but can't repair, can help the gut as much as maybe doing the spore probiotic first to really repair. Is that correct?
Exactly. So fermented foods are so important, and I encourage everybody to be eating them and consuming them. It just, what they don't do in that garden is they're not helping the good bacteria come back to life. They're not helping those good plants come back to life, and they're not necessarily getting rid of the, unfavorable bacteria or the weeds in the garden. So what fermented foods are doing is providing this nutrient dense food, and you're getting great nutrition, and it's important for your gut health, but it's not actually reconditioning the gut. It's not actually creating this diversity in the gut that we really need to be healthy. So it's an important aspect to health. It's definitely not a replacement for a spore-based probiotic.
Okay. And also, too, I mean, a lot of those fermented foods sometimes give, at least my customers, some gastric upset as they introduce these healthier fermented foods to their bodies. And what is your feedback with your product? Like, do people say, oh, the first week was challenging, I felt like, my body was going through detox? Have you heard any feedback so customers know what to expect if they begin the journey with Just Thrive probiotic?
Yes, we have seen people that have experienced die-off, which is basically some minor gastrointestinal discomfort the first couple days. So we always encourage people just to start slowly. We don't see it often, but I always like to mention it because I don't want the people who experience that are generally the people who have an imbalanced gut, and they need this product more than ever. It's a great sign when you're experiencing that, because it's letting your body, it's telling you that you're getting rid of these, LPS toxins. You're getting rid of all of this. You're having this die-off effect. So it's really important that you just start slowly. You could just go with a half a capsule a day, 1 capsule every other day, or whatever amount that you could tolerate, and then just slowly titrate up after about 3 to 5 days to a full capsule a day, or whatever amount really works for you is fine. It's just important that you're getting these spores in your system.
Okay.
So, but definitely don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of any type of die-off, because the die-off is telling you that it's working, and that it's really it's cleaning up the gut and rebalancing the gut.
Love that. And as far as you mentioned that it should be used with food, now is there any particular, there will be many customers that will say, well, what kind of food? What happens if I'm having a challenging meal? Does it matter if they pick something healthy or if they just mix it with a drive-through meal? Is there any better way to do it?
It's always, of course, I never want to encourage anybody to have a drive-through meal, but it's always better to have it with high fats and proteins and things like that. So, but it's always best to take it with food, not because it works fine on an empty stomach, but we actually have a study that showed that these strains actually germinate throughout the intestines more in the presence of food. So you're going to get more for your money if you eat it with food. And so the types of food would be, some proteins and fats and things like that.
I think that's going to be easier for people, because I definitely, when I tell them empty stomach or something, they're always finding that is harder. So,
yes.
All right. So with food will work better. All right. So Tina, as you know, I think the country, if not the world right now, is going crazy for vitamin D, D3. Everyone's coming in, even non-believers are just plugging away at it. Doctors are recommending super high doses now. So I really always try to get them to take vitamin K with it. Can you explain why that was one of your choices to bring into your line and your thoughts about vitamin K?
Yes. So we only bring products that are missing in the market and needed desperately in the market. So as you know, we don't have 200. There's a lot of supplement companies out there that have 200 products in their formulary, and we were really trying to find things that were missing and needed in the market. And vitamin K2, even though we are mostly a gut health, line, we really knew how important vitamin K2 was. So the role of vitamin K2 is to direct calcium away from the arteries where we don't want it, like our heart, and into the bone where we do want it. And so it's really important that we have adequate amounts of K2. Unfortunately, the vast majority of our population is deficient in vitamin K2. There's really no natural source. We get that from organ meats and some, that natto that you had mentioned
that
earlier.
Smells so gross.
That smells, and I've actually never tried it.
Oh, don't, Tina, just don't try it. It's okay.
But it is so rich in vitamin K2. And we all know how important now. We're all learning more and more how important vitamin K2 is. And what's happening, that you mentioned vitamin D is a really important nutrient. But the problem is that when you take high dose of vitamin D supplementation, and you combine that with a vitamin K2 deficiency, now you have an increased risk for heart disease, an increased risk for osteoporosis. It's really, really important that we have vitamin K2 with the D. So that's awesome that you're encouraging people to do that, because yes, vitamin D, especially now, is so important, but you have to be taking vitamin K2 with it. And I mean, vitamin K is K2, not K1, but vitamin K2 is such an exciting nutrient, because there was actually a study done, the Rotterdam study. They took 4,800 men and women, 55 years and older, over a 10-year period, and supplemented them with vitamin K2, and saw a 50% reduction in arterial calcification.
Wow.
Also saw a 50% reduction in cardiovascular death. So, of course, those two go hand in hand together. But the really exciting finding in this is that this study actually showed a 25% reduction in all-cause mortality as compared to people with a low intake of dietary K2. So really, really exciting nutrient, vitamin K2. And I think we're just at the tip of letting people know about vitamin K27.
You definitely have to text me the link to that study, because so many people really only think about the K and the D together for bone health. but that's significant for heart health. I always, 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 to this day, I will definitely know that it's not the cholesterol issue. It's, the calcification and the artery health that's really causing all these heart issues. So if that K2 can help that, that's amazing. Really good stuff. Well,
yeah. And you mentioned the statins. It's interesting because statins are the #1 prescribed drug for heart disease. And you would think that the amount of statins prescribed, as they go up, the amount of cardiovascular disease would go down. But
right, common sense.
Right. But there was a study that was published in, I think it was like 2015, and it showed that statins actually interfered with K2 function in the body. So statins can actually increase the risk of heart disease. I mean, it's scary.
Right.
It's
I
really,
know.
really scary.
Why, Tina, why aren't people grasping this? I'm like, if it was working, our numbers would be going down. Oh, and I love it how it depletes CoQ10 production, which is like so important for the heart and our bodies. And that's a whole nother show. We can just talk for hours about those issues. But so people, I guess, they really need to see studies, and that's okay. I know with your background, you probably like studies too, and it's all good, but sometimes common sense has to come into play,
Yes,
but
exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we got about 6 minutes left. So, all right. The next product, I don't think we've ever discussed on any of my shows. Okay. So IgG. People are probably like, what is that? All right. Can you tell us about your ultimate IgG and why someone might need it?
Yes. So IgG stands for immunoglobulin G. So immunoglobulins in our body are antibodies. So their job in the body is to bind and neutralize toxins in the body and like antigens in the body. So these offenders. And your body safely releases them. So we're faced with viruses every day on a daily basis, and our own antibodies, IgG, IgA, IgM, are all grabbing onto these, binding to these toxins and neutralizing them and allowing your body to get rid of the toxins. And so IgG is the most universal and immunoglobulin in the body, and it's in the highest demand in the body because it can perform the function of all of them. And so our ultimate IgG provides our bodies with 25% more IgG in our gut. And so really important because, of course, we know our immune system is in our gut. So it's really, really important that we have these IgGs to help reduce the toxins that we find in our body. So it's environmental toxins, all different types of toxins and pathogens that we find. That's the job of IgG that our body already produces.
Okay, so some listeners might be saying, well, okay, so I already know I need a probiotic. Do I do the probiotic every day with the IgG, or do I just take IgG when I'm feeling sick? How would you approach that?
Yes. IgG, I take it every day. My kids take it every day. My parents, my in-laws, everybody in my family, especially now, is taking it every day. We don't have any evidence to show that IgG binds and neutralizes to COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2. There's no science to that, but what we do know is that it's getting rid of IgG in our body actually binds and neutralizes to a lot of viruses out there. So it's actually reducing our viral load in our gut. So I would definitely suggest taking it on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And then, of course, especially if, budget's tight, you want to take it every other day, take it, maybe certain times of the year when, during cold and flu season, that would be fine too. But really, really important for our immune health also.
Okay, so we're here with Tina Anderson with Just Thrive Health, and she's discussing today probiotics, vitamin K2, and ultimate IgG. All these products are amazing. Tina, in case people are wanting more, how can they get in touch or contact someone from the company or get more information?
Oh, you just go to justthrivehealth.com, and you could email us at info@justthrivehealth.com. We have a toll-free number on the website, and our customer service agents are incredibly fabulous people. So if you have any questions, we have a health coach on there. If you have any questions, by all means, let them know.
That's wonderful. Well, at least I know me personally, I'm so glad that you chose the journey that you did and founded this amazing company. And I am looking forward to growing the line with you guys and hoping that you come on the show again because it was such a pleasure. You just definitely, you talk my language, Tina, so I love it.
Thank you, Joanne. I feel the exact same way about you. I have been blown away by health food store owners and the amount of knowledge and expertise. And I sometimes go to some of my friends in the industry, the health food store owners, and ask for medical issues because I feel like they know more than my doctors do. So,
well, yeah, I love that. And, and that's the thing, my father-in-law is a physician. And I always say, there are good doctors out there that try to do the right thing. And, and then but we have to really know our own bodies and really use our intuition and just take all this information, whether it be from you or me, but really learn ourselves, before we just depend on someone else to fix us, right?
Absolutely. So I really appreciate the good work you're doing, Joanne.
Oh, thank you, Tina. You as well. All right. Well, you and your family stay well and stay happy, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity, Joanne.
All right. Thank you, Tina. Well, everyone, Dr. Ravi won't be with me next week, but we'll have another great topic and lots of cool guests coming up. We have Dr. Mercola research coming up. And then on the 24th, I want everyone to mark their calendars. Dr. Cass Ingram. He is like the guy behind all this oregano oil talk, North American, thyme oil, sage oil. He is the coolest guy ever. He'll be on the show on the 24th. And remember, our online store is up and running, joannesnutritionworld.com. Check it out. Great deals, free shipping. Thanks, everyone, and I hope everyone has an amazing week.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition. Presented each week by Joanne's Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce, right across from Fort Pierce City Hall at the corner of US 1 and Orange Avenue. Tune in every Thursday morning in the 10 o'clock hour for Joanne's World of Nutrition. Watch the archives on YouTube under WPSLTV.com. We'll check you out again next week, Joanne. Thank you. By the way, this is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.